A few years ago, my apartment building had a problem with the kitchen exhaust systems from the downstairs apartments. The upstairs neighbors were getting strong odors pumped into our apartments whenever the downstairs neighbors cooked food. And we figured that it was coming from the kitchen hoods in the downstairs apartments. Every night I heard the fan go on in the kitchen downstairs, and it was very loud. And not long after the fan noise started, the smells would come in. My side of the building was a real challenge. The exhaust vent was inside the wall, and that wall was right on the property line. So we had to work with those constraints. First, we looked at the exhaust vent from inside my downstairs neighbor's apartment. It wasn't built well, and it was duct taped to a broken piece of gypsum board, which was their ceiling. That passed into the ceiling cavity between our apartments. I couldn't really see where it went after that. And besides that, my kitchen counter and sink were sitting over their kitchen hood. So we had to dismantle the whole counter and the kitchen sink and move it. The previous owner of my apartment had built the cabinets and the counter himself, and the whole unit was split into just two pieces, right in the middle of the sink. So we removed the cabinetry and the counter. It was about 14 feet long. And then we took a look at the situation, and wow, what a mess. First of all, the original drywall behind my kitchen counter had multiple holes in it that were also letting in noise and odors. I already needed to remove some of that drywall just to see my neighbor's wall vent, but now it looked like I needed to replace all the drywall. We also saw that the exhaust from the downstairs unit wasn't even connected to the exhaust vent inside my wall. There's a sill at the floor level between each of the apartments, and there's no continuous hollow space inside the wall for the ductwork to pass from one floor through the next floor. It just stopped. So that vent in my wall was supposed to pass the exhaust up through the roof from their apartment. But the downstairs kitchen hood was just pouring smoke and smells from the downstairs kitchen into my apartment. So the first thing I did was some demolition. I removed the drywall from the whole 14-foot long area where the counter was, and I decided to insulate between the studs and then cover them with quiet rock drywall. Then we hired an HVAC contractor, and he suggested that we put a hole through my subfloor that would create a continuous connection from the kitchen exhaust downstairs through a galvanized steel vent that came up through my subfloor. Then we needed to connect that vent from the subfloor to the wall vent, and then that would go up and out of the building. We also needed a new wall vent because look how bad the old one looked. So, after the vent in the floor was finished, we put insulation around it and put a wooden box over it to protect it. And here you can see the box and the new vent in the wall and lots of duct tape. But after we did all this, we had another problem. The new vent inside the wall didn't lie flush between the wall studs. It protruded out a little bit. And we didn't want to shove that vent back into the wall to cover it with drywall because we didn't want to break the seal between the floor vent and the wall vent. So instead, I decided to add another layer of drywall over the quiet rock. This way, it would cover the vent and create a gap between the vent and the single layer of drywall rather than smashing that vent back into the wall. So most of the newer wall would now be double drywall except for the section with the vent. And we also put insulation around the vent before we closed it up. So after the work was done, I decided we had an opportunity to add even more soundproofing. I really didn't want to hear the neighbor's exhaust fan droning anymore through my floor. The kitchen counter had been sitting directly on bare subfloor before we did this work. I decided to experiment with some soundproofing materials and make a soundproof sandwich. So first we caulked the subfloor really well. Then we put down a layer of cork on the subfloor, and then on top of the cork we put a layer of mass-loaded vinyl. On top of the vinyl, we put a layer of 1/2-inch homosote. And on top of the homosote, we put a layer of plywood to finish it. Then we put the cabinets back on top of this sandwich. It raised the height of the counter by about 1 inch, which actually works really well. The previous countertop was actually too low. The results: I don't hear the neighbor's kitchen fan anymore, and I stopped getting food exhaust smells. This experiment worked pretty well, and that's without even decoupling the subfloor. And I think I did a big favor for my downstairs neighbors, too. As you can see, this countertop has 15 drawers and doors in it. And if I didn't have so much soundproofing underneath it, my downstairs neighbor would probably hear me opening and closing drawers all the time. Before we did this work, these vibrations went directly from the cabinets into the subfloor and into my downstairs neighbor's apartment. But all of that is absorbed now by the layers over the floor and in the extra drywall behind the counter. This repair was done over 10 years ago, and unfortunately, I didn't take a lot of photos or videos of the process like I would now. And I also didn't take decibel meter readings before the work got done to compare to the results. But the solution was successful, and I hope this gives you an idea of how you might solve your own noise issues. Thanks for watching, and for more information on noise and soundproofing, visit soundproofist.com.